I'm Nate Jarrell, and today we're going to be looking at that line you just heard by the great guitar player Guthrie Govan. If you haven't listened to much Guthrie Govan, it's pretty hard to argue that he's not one of the best guitar players to have ever lived, probably. I think often he gets sort of categorized into the kind of rock end of things, but he's one of the most versatile guitar players out there. And this particular song that this lick comes from is a really good example of that. This is from his trio called the Aristocrats. This is from their 2011 self-titled album. The tune is called Get It Like That. And it is a really interesting take on kind of a jazz fusion type of a thing. There's even some swing going on in it. And it's mostly over a D minor vamp in the solo section. And so we're going to be looking at what he's using throughout that to get some really interesting sounds happening. So let's jump in and start taking a look at what's going on kind of bar by bar in this lick and really breaking it all down. So at the beginning of the lick, he's just playing D Dorian. Okay, so this is all over a D minor 7 type of sound. Okay, and he starts things out with a line that just goes. Okay, so pretty simple, just D Dorian type of line. Nothing kind of outside or strange or different happening there. But pretty quickly, he jumps right into something that is why I picked this to begin with as I was listening to this song, and this particular lick kind of jumped out at me. He's doing some substitution over this D minor 7, and he right away jumps into an E flat dominant 7th arpeggio over this D minor sound. Now, it is important to note that the bass player, there's no chordal accompaniment going on here. So the bass player, it is squarely in D minor, but he is playing against single lines. So that does give him a little bit more liberty, but you could absolutely use this also as just an interesting substitution over anything where you're soloing over a minor vamp like this. Okay, so what's going on? Let's listen to the line first, and we'll talk about what's going on with this E flat 7 type of sound. So this is what he plays here. Okay, that is right down an E flat dominant 7 arpeggio. Okay, and that might seem strange to be playing a dominant 7th arpeggio a half step up from the minor chord we're playing on, but there's actually quite a bit of precedent for that. What he's doing is substituting the 5 chord. So in this case, if we were playing the 5 of D minor, that would be an A7. Okay, now you might be wondering why he's playing E flat 7. And there's something called a tritone substitution. Now, this is not so much a video on that particular concept. So if that's new for you or something that you haven't learned about, there's a lot out there about that. So just a quick explanation. If we are going to play a dominant 7th chord, we can substitute another dominant 7th chord for it, a flat 5 or an interval of a tritone away from it. So over an A7 chord, we could play an E flat 7 chord. It gives us the same 3rd and 7th, okay? But we also get the flat 5, okay? And then we're also going to get, that's the 7th there. We also get the flat 9. Okay, so it gives you an altered dominant sound. So to recap that, because this is a bit of to think about if this concept is new for you, he is playing an A7 over the D minor. That is a substitute of the 5 chord on top of that D minor chord. And then he's taking that a step further by actually playing the tritone sub for that A7 chord. Okay, very Guthrie thing to do, but something you hear in jazz a lot as well. I have another video on the channel talking about a Wayne Shorter idea where he's doing a similar thing where he's subbing the 5 of the minor chord he's playing on. Okay, and that gives us a really interesting sound, and it implies a 5-1 type of chord progression happening where we only really just have the minor chord there, the 1 chord. Okay, so let's hear that line again and then look at exactly how he connects all of that. Okay, so it sounds like this. Okay, so that whole first part of that where he's playing the arpeggio, he's just playing the arpeggio, okay, starting from the root and descending down through it. Okay, and he plays it just root down to 7th. This note right here is the D. Okay, we're over a D minor chord, so that would be a fairly obvious note, except in the course of playing the arpeggio, it's actually getting used as a passing tone. So he's passing through that D, he's passing from the E flat to the D to the D flat. So in the context of that E flat 7 arpeggio, E flat's the root, passing tone with the major 7th, and then that lands us down on the flat 7 of that dominant chord. Okay, so one more time. Okay, really interesting line. Okay, and really interesting sound over a D minor tonality. Okay, from here, he is still going to continue that E flat 7 type of sound, but instead of continuing to play just the arpeggio, we get something that looks a little bit more like what we might get in an E flat mixolydian, only because we get a couple extra notes that just aren't in the arpeggio. Okay, so from there, we get this. Okay, now I'm starting kind of right in the middle of the line there, but that's where he kind of shifts from playing just the arpeggio. And you'll notice we also get another passing tone. Okay, so bebop type jazz line thrown in there as well. Okay, with those passing tones. Okay, and then after that he pivots back to D Dorian. Okay, so let's listen to the whole line again in the first 2 bars. I'll play that for you a little slower than I did on the intro, so you can really get an idea of how that line sounds all together. Okay, so there's that whole line from those first 2 bars of this idea. So blending, just to review, D Dorian to start with, okay, typical what you would play over a minor vamp like this, and then into that E flat 7 arpeggio idea that is going to give us the sound of subbing in the 5 chord using a tritone sub over this. So I know that's a lot to take in. Totally, you can use this kind of idea really easily, even if you don't quite understand that yet, just by playing a dominant 7th arpeggio up a half step from the root of the minor chord you're playing over, and then dropping back down to that minor chord. Okay, so I would encourage you to look into understanding that chord substitution and what a tritone substitution is, but just know that you could use this sound right off the bat just by doing that. Move up a half step from the minor chord you're playing on, play a dominant 7th arpeggio, move back down. Okay. And resolve it. And that's going to be the key thing, is that you do resolve it. And he does that very clearly in this next part of the line. Okay, so he's back to playing D Dorian type ideas in the last part of this line. Okay, so just kind of normal, what you would play over a minor vamp type of a sound. But he's got this really cool motif that happens in this syncopated thing going on. So here's what that sounds like. Okay, that's that line right there. So really cool rhythmic idea. And also typical of his playing. It's one of the things I love about his playing is it's not just technically incredible, which it is. There's all this really great feel and these really great rhythmic concepts going on as well. So let's hear that one more time. Okay, so you've got that little repeating pattern that happens there, but he's kind of displacing it in different ways through those 2 bars, and it's a really, really cool sound. Okay, so check this album out, check this song out. It's got a real surprise ending on it where they're playing kind of in a more jazz type of context, and then all of a sudden it pops in with all these heavy distorted chords and stuff at the end. Real typical of an Aristocrats type of thing. And they're always keeping you on your toes with what you're going to hear as stuff is going along. But he's one of my favorite players, just because of how versatile he is, how many different things he can do, and clearly how deep his understanding is of harmony. And you can see that all throughout his lines. So give it a listen. I've linked to it below. If you enjoyed this, There's more videos like this on the channel, so click that subscribe button, like the video, help it get out there. We really appreciate it. Share it. And thanks so much, and we'll see you on the next one.